Get me out of this mess. Gonna fly me so high I can go at top speed. At least I can try. At least I can try. It's all been too much. Can't make sense anymore. Clearly a bad joke. With me down on the floor. With me down on the floor. It's all gorgeous right now. Take a second to look. Take a second.
This is Lori Smith on Spreaker, and I'm just doing another show, and I thought I'd just title it Uncomfortable in My Skin. And this is a show just dealing mainly with survivor issues, adult survivor issues of child abuse, and just the issues that many survivors probably have to deal with. Maybe not all, but I'm sure that there are many that do deal with these same types of things. And so that's what I thought I'd talk about tonight, just taking a look at what child abuse does, to a person, who survives it and then has to try to move on. And I do talk a lot about this on Spreaker and Blog Talk Radio and whatnot, but tonight I just sort of wanted to focus on these types of issues, just as a survivor, having to deal with the day-to-day life. It's difficult sometimes, that I know, like, for myself, I'm not on prescription, drugs or anything like that, and I've just done mainly self-help with a little bit of little bit of therapy done with some friends of mine, actually, a friend of mine in Australia who has a program that is really quite good. And these issues are like that song, Take a Second by Point Claire. It's sort of haunting, it's like these things never really go away. They might go away for a period of time, especially if I'm busy and, staying sort of busy and have a routine and things are going along pretty good for a while. Sometimes, there'll be a period of time where I don't sit around and think about these things all the time. But other times, they sort of just come rushing back, the memories and just the feelings, maybe being triggered by something that I've seen or something I've heard or read or whatever, or just triggered by memories. A lot of calendar dates, dates on the calendar, times of the year, certain days of the week can trigger survivors, and for me, that's an issue. And so this is just something that I feel like it's something I just wanted to share with the listeners out here. It's why I really do a lot of work to try to promote child abuse prevention, because I'm one survivor who's able to talk about these things, and I'm able to maintain and to face these issues publicly, and just share my own story with people so that others will, hopefully survivors out there will get some support and get some help, and other people who, may not realize just how damaging child abuse really is will, hopefully, if they have children, not do these things to their children. And if they know some child, or some children who are being abused, that they would get some help for these kids. It's a horrific situation. And so that's what I just continue to do, is just continue to speak out, and a lot of the stuff is very much my own personal story. And excuse me, my voice is terrible tonight. I've been talking for like 8 hours at my job, so I've already been talking all day, and that's what I do for a living, so to pay the bills. And so I've already been talking, sorry about that, for about 8 hours, over a period of about 12 hours, so I'm just getting a little bit tired. But tonight I want to talk about uncomfortable in my skin, and that's just something that I deal with always, sort of pops up and rears its ugly head quite often, if not generally at all times. I feel a little bit uncomfortable most times in my own skin, and people would probably question why. I've been able to maintain, and my life today is abuse free. I don't have anybody abusing me in my life, which is great. Once I got away from my abusive family, I mean, it's, my husband's been good to me. My husband is right now in the hospital. He's terminally ill and he's very sick, and he's in stage and his liver's failing, and I don't know, if he'll come home to me or if he's going to go home to the Lord, but we'll have to wait and see. He's been in the hospital for about, be going on a whole is it a whole week or 2 weeks now? I can't remember. It's been a while, but anyway, he'll be in there for a while. And so, it's just me sitting around here tonight, and my husband's been good to me. He's a good man. He has not abused me, and he's been very good to me. We've had a few spats, like few little rows, but nothing serious. That was all in the beginning of our relationship, just learning how to behave together, and but nothing abusive. I wouldn't say abusive. Because I won't tolerate abuse in my life, period, as an adult survivor of child abuse and a witness and really a victim of secondhand domestic violence, and even third-hand domestic violence from friends. I just refuse to be around abuse, and I won't let anybody. I absolutely tolerate no abuse in my life at all. And so, I figure I'm willing to treat others with respect and decency, and that's what I expect to receive back from them. That's one area that I'm very clear and strong on, is my boundaries, and I'm very thankful for that. But as far as just my own, the psychological, I think that would be the emotional, psychological abuse done over the years, mainly by my mother and some by other siblings and my dad, but most of it was due to my mother, just her horrific treatment towards me, just the way she continually downgraded me sort of on a continual basis for many years. And the family did too, because she was, so they just followed suit. And, it had its toll. It took its toll. People would say, well, you're just doing fine today. You're just, a woman who's surviving and making it. And, I'm the only real drugs I do are legal. I'm addicted to cigarettes. That's about it. And coffee. So those are my two bad things, coffee and cigarettes. Otherwise, I don't do drugs, and I'm alcohol free. I don't drink. I'm off the drugs and for many, many, many years. And I mean, I can be happy about that and be thankful. But it doesn't get me out of my skin. You know, I can never get out of my own skin. It's there. It's mine. I'm stuck with it. And people would, is it really just the skin or is it the image? And this is something I wanted to talk about tonight. It's the image, really. It's not so much the skin that makes me uncomfortable in my skin. A lot of people will feel that way. Not just people who have been abused, but many other people too, just for whatever reason, take on or have dealt with certain things like people would say low self-esteem or whatever. But for me, it's the fact that maybe their feelings have been hurt. Someone said something that was hurtful and they took it to heart, and it might have been just a friend or somebody on in the school or schoolyard or throughout their growing up years when things like that are really important to young teens, preteens. And I know for me, just continually having like daily assaults, really, verbal assaults, psychological, emotional assaults, physical assaults, sexual assaults, really had its toll on my body, and the image was marred. And so that image is the image that is left on the inside of my mind of who I am and just what I am in this world, you know. And quite often, I'll sit around and I'll think, well, things are going pretty good, but I'm still stuck with me, you know. At the end of the day, when I'm done with everything that I have to do for the day and I'm finished with my work and sitting back and relaxing and taking it easy, at the end of the day, we are all stuck with ourselves, And I've never been able to be completely comfortable in my own surroundings or with my own self. And I'm sure it had something to do, a lot to do with the abuse that I suffered as a child. And, even though I'm in a safe place, my little apartment, it's safe, it's secure, there's nobody abusing me here. It's always this idea that I don't belong, I don't belong anywhere. That was how I grew up feeling. That's how I grew up, really what I grew up hearing and what I grew up believing, and I just took that on. And even as a young, in my 20s and whatnot, after I stopped using drugs and stopped getting high, and started to work on my life, the goal was, really my goal was to make it, that I could do it, that I wasn't gonna, just self-destruct in some sort of, drug deal gone bad or just end up in the gutter from a drug overdose or something, which was where my family thought I was headed. And because my brothers were drug users and my family was just such a destroyed wreck, really, the whole time I was alive in it. And so they just figured I'd follow suit, And I mean, really, the signs were there. I mean, I was drunk in the gutters, and I was passed out in driveways, and I was, passed out at parties, and just, living a lifestyle that was really quite dangerous, and driving crazy, wrecking cars, didn't care really if I hurt myself, really didn't want to hurt other people, but I didn't really care if I hurt myself or not. And always in the back of my mind that as an older, not even a teen, but really in my 20s, as an early young person, just coming into my 20s, should have been dealing with a whole lot of other set of things in life, trying to get my own life together, maybe not even necessarily just get married, but just to find out what I wanted to do and go for it. Mainly, I was just trying to come out of 9 years of drug abuse and, 20 years of child abuse. And it was a hard road. I didn't get as far as I should have and didn't really excel as much as I should have, even though I did a pretty good job maintaining. But in my life, I've always felt really that I didn't belong. And even when I get, roles and positions at jobs and whatnot, I don't really feel competent enough to do them. It's not that anybody's telling me, oh, you're not competent, because I've got the job. But the issue is I always feel that I'm not doing a good job, that I'm not capable, that I'm not going to be accepted. And it's the whole idea of rejection, I guess. Just being rejected as a child and being not wanted and pushed away and pushed out and told that I was worthless and useless. So I just expect that almost. You know what I mean? So it's a hard situation. It really is, because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm stuck in my own skin. and I can't run away from it. I tried. I mean, I did drugs for 9 years as a young person, and from the age of, well, really from 12 to 20, so 21. So I say about 9 years, yeah. And I mean, I couldn't escape it then, you know. Then I moved 2,000 miles away from my abusive childhood, thinking that if I moved that far away, I could get away from it and get away from the problems. And really, I couldn't get away from myself because there I was. I was still there. Yeah, I was I was at the place where I moved. It was me, and I couldn't get away from it. You know, and I thought, you know, it's not that I consciously thought, oh, if I moved up there, if I moved 2,000 miles up north and moved to Canada, it'll all just be gone. And it was just another situation of running, you know. And you know, I can't escape myself, you know. And I think that's where I was, you know, 42 years old, sitting on the couch. You know, this has been a few years now, 2007, sitting on the couch just wanting to self-injure and really thinking that I should end my life because, you know, I wasn't necessarily suicidal, but I had suicidal ideation because I grew up that way. And my parents were suicidal. My dad was actually suicidal. My mom was always talking about suicide. And so it was just part of our life. That's what we all did. Ranted and raved and told each other that we were all going to kill each other and kill ourselves, right? This is what we did. And so, I mean, it was just in the back of my mind all the time, you know, that I didn't belong here and I was never going to find peace and I was never going to escape myself or my past or the abuse that I suffered, you know, and without completely, you know, going into denial and, you know, psychologically, you know, becoming completely distant from it and apart from it. I mean, I stayed in the reality of it. And so in order to be sane and to keep track of what happened and what went wrong, you know, that was my sanity measure. But in the meantime, you know, I was stuck with the memories and stuck with the flashbacks and stuck with the horror, you know, of watching my family disintegrate at my parents' hands, right? And so, I mean, what do you do with it? Like, I had to start thinking differently about it. And I did a lot of work on that. John Bradshaw's books. I did a lot of self-help work with that, which was very helpful. I did some other work on, oh, I can't remember the name of it now, but anyway, it's a program that uses the limbic system, and it's from a lady in Australia. And I can get that info and I'll post it here on the comment section for anybody who's interested in it. I can't think of the name of it right now off the top of my head, but it was really, I know the program because I use it all the time. It's actually really helpful. And it's using pictures instead of words. Talk therapy, it's another form of therapy that doesn't involve talking. It involves pictures in the mind. And, you know, finding a safe place, you know, for all of myself who was abused as a child. And that was very helpful, actually, to go in and actually see myself and to allow myself to know that, yeah, I am safe. The abusers are not there. They're no longer around and they can no longer hurt me. My little self, you know, from so long ago suffered so much trauma that, you know, inside of me was still a whole lot of trauma, really, and trouble dealing with the whole issue at all these different ages. So I see how it works, and it is very interesting how it does work. But in the meantime, I'm still stuck with myself. I'm still stuck with my skin. And as survivors of abuse, you know, I can sit here and tell myself, oh, I can sit here like, you know, Stuart Smalley from, you know, the SNL days, Saturday Night Live, and tell myself, oh, I'm great, and you are worth it, and you are. I can sit there and try to convince myself of that all I want. But that doesn't change my past, and it doesn't change what I went through. It doesn't change the scars in my mind. It doesn't change the scars in my body. It doesn't change the truth. You know, the truth is the truth. And so for me, I have to look at things very realistically, or it just doesn't make any sense. You know, I can't pretend, right? And so, you know, pretending just doesn't work for me. So realistically, I mean, I'm a survivor of abuse. And I guess for me, I guess the thing that really gets me through is God, because that's truly what's made the only real difference in this whole thing, is just trusting God. Because I used to run from Him, and then I realized that I needed to run to Him. And you know, my dad was a Christian. I was abused by a Christian, so there you go. I had a hard time with God, and I had my problems and issues with God. But the issue is I'm still stuck in my skin. And I believe that it's that marred image, because that image, as a child being marred like that, and I'm not just talking about the physical abuse, I'm talking about the whole entire image, the spiritual image, the the conscious image, the mirror image, the physical image, the whole entire image, was marred. And it will always be marred. There's no way to fix that. And so I guess at some point, a person like myself who sits around uncomfortable in my skin quite often and knowing that I can't get out of it and I'm stuck with it, I'm stuck with me and I'm stuck with my past. And really, unless I want to create a new, different past and pretend, then I'm stuck with it. And I guess really people say, and I've heard from survivors, that you have to accept it. And I have a hard time accepting it because I'm very angry about it. And I don't want to accept it because I don't feel that it was right. And some people say, well, you have to embrace it. You have to learn how to embrace it. Well, I don't want to embrace that, because that was evil and it was truly wrong. So I don't really know how to embrace that. What I really want to do is learn how to embrace myself. I have done a lot of work in that area. And learning to, people say, oh, well, you don't, as a Christian, I study the Bible. I know, I almost have a bachelor degree in biblical studies, and, I study the Bible all the time. And, a lot of the feeling is that, well, we are really just a product of sin nature, And that's true. I believe that. But the thing is children are innocent. And when they really are. They're born in with sin nature, but the thing is they truly are innocent, and I believe that if they're treated properly and treated decently, they can grow up to become these children that I believe God would be pleased with, But for me, I can never get that back because I was brought up in this horrific situation with horrible people who then taught me how to be horrible and then beat me up for it. Right? So, like I was encouraged to misbehave and then beaten for it, right? That's the issue. My parents didn't teach us any proper manners, and they basically taught us how to behave, how to hit, how to throw fits, how to curse, and how to break things, how to slam doors, and how to get angry and hurt somebody. My parents did a great job at showing us how to do all that. And then when we just mimicked them, we'd get beaten for it. Oh, we're just these horrible children. We need a good whipping, And most of my beatings were caused because of that, because my parents taught me how to behave and then beat me for it. And so it's like, oh, great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. And that's just such a level of ignorance that people think, oh, well, that child's just misbehaving and they need to be, disciplined for that. Well, there's a big difference between discipline and abuse, I'll tell you that. And there's also a big difference between parents showing their children how to misbehave and then punishing them for that, right? And it's wrong. And, really, I'm the image also of my parents. I can never get rid of that. Like they caused me to be. People say, oh, parents don't cause their children to be the way that they are. That's a false lie. Because I can tell you, by the time I hit 16, the reason I was the way I was because of my two parents and the daily barrage of garbage and insults and just complete neglect and abuse that I took from both of them. And, yeah, no, it was because of them. And, there was no possible way that it could be any different. And even like today I sit here and there's no possible way I can be any different. I'm just who I am. And so therefore, this whole idea of being uncomfortable in my skin, at some point, I'm going to have to learn how to embrace it. And I'm not going to, I refuse to embrace the abuse. I absolutely refuse. But I need to learn how to embrace myself, how to, I have learned how to say, okay, I do love myself and I do care about myself because God gave me this life, and this is a precious gift. And I have, I still have issues with suicidal ideation. I would never commit suicide, and I made a promise to God, and I'm sticking to it. But it's always there in the back of my mind. I'm having a hard day, a lot of flashbacks, And I think I need out of this pain. This pain, it doesn't go away. I did a whole show on that, the pain of child abuse, the pain of being abused. It's still there. Some days it's not as bad as others. And I'm thankful for the good days. And the hard days, it's kind of hard to deal with. It really is. And I have a lot of flashbacks and a lot of memories. And it's a severe issue for so many people. There's so many survivors who can't talk about this stuff. They just cannot allow themselves. It's just not going to happen. They won't tell anyone what happened. They won't reach out and get help. I'm glad I reached out and got some help because, until I reached out and got some help, I was just really going to suffer on my own and in silence, and it was going to kill me, and I knew that. And so, when I started reaching out, I was like, I've got to do something. I can't stay the way that I am. I cannot stay in this deadly silence, because silence is deadly when it comes to child abuse. And for survivors, I know that it's hard to find people to trust. And, I went on like anonymous group support because I really trust safety in numbers. That's for me. I don't really like one-on-one things, and I don't really trust people. I probably never will. And I want people to trust me, so I will give people the benefit of the doubt. And then, I screw up and make mistakes, and so I allow that for other people. But somebody hurts me, and they're gone. I don't allow people to hurt me and just mistreat me and then just think they're going to get away with it. Somebody makes a mistake. Well, that's all right because I do too. And, but I don't allow people to misuse me and mistreat me. And as an adult survivor of abuse, that's one thing I don't have a problem with is re-victimization, because I will not allow myself to be a victim again, ever. And so I've drawn clear boundaries, and boundary work is something that I don't think I even need work on. I've mastered it. But the thing is for so many survivors out there, that's not the case, And I just want to, be just one more voice out here to encourage you, to reach out and get some help. Whether whether you don't like safety numbers, you just want one-on-one, find some counseling, find somebody you can talk to, somebody who you can trust. And then if you find they're not working for you, then you move on and you find somebody else, because you do have rights, and you do have a right to a good life. And we all, struggle with these things, right? I'm not just some survivor out here who's run the gamut and everything's just perfect. That's just not the case. But I just thank God for his mercy and his grace in my life, because it's surely showing, it's very evident and plain to see for anybody who could see the transformation that's taken place over the last 7 years. I just give all the glory to God. So I'm going to play another song for you called Promises by Warren Hill, and it's also I think XY, the band, I think that's his band, but it's a song by Warren Hill called Promises. God bless you all, and I just hope, if you're struggling, do not ever give up. It's not an option. Don't allow it to be an option. We'll talk to you soon.
Factory they was long ago, and now it changes mind. They're gonna fall, they're gonna pay. They're gonna strike out, they're gonna play.
And everybody say no more.